We approve the minutes.
I'd like to ask for a correction on the minutes.
Go ahead.
I made a formal request to have a report on the public service answering point. I did not get a report, and I respectfully request that that be recorded in the minutes. On June 25th, 2009, we approved $70,000 for an Act 56 wireless phone funds for a long-term needs assessment and to study the best location as well as needed equipment for a backup public service answering point. Is that study being done?
I don't think you said that, though.
No, I don't think so.
I didn't say, but it was in the handout.
okay.
It was in the handout. I'm asking.
Okay.
Well, that wasn't part of the minutes, so.
You said you want-
No, you asked for a report on the PSAP.
The public.
Backup PSAP.
Right.
And I told you I was working on it. Now, that's what should go in the minutes.
But the point is, Larry, there was a motion on the floor almost a year ago, 10 months ago.
But it has nothing to do with what was said at the meeting.
It does have something
No,
to
it
do with
doesn't.
it. Is this assessment study being done, and where is it? I'd like to see the
Talking
report.
about apples and oranges, Joellen.
It identifies the equipment needed. You said you're researching that we don't need equipment. I'd
I
like
didn't
to.
say that at all. I said I'm working on it.
I'd like to
I
know
didn't
where
tell
this.
you what was involved or isn't involved.
I'd like to know where this study is and what the results are.
Well, when it's finished, you'll get it. So will everybody else.
Is it in process or has that been held up?
Well, nothing's being held up. I told you last week I'm working on it.
But it's not for you to work on if we have an official study being done.
That's not true either.
It's an independent study, right?
What?
The needs assessment.
It's totally different what that was for. That's for something for the future down the road.
I think that I'd like a report on the backup PSAPs, where we stand, and also this study. You met with Dan.
Yeah. Anytime he wants to talk to me about backup PSAP or anything for that matter, all he has to do is call me. I talk to him. I've talked to his staff. I've talked to a lot of people.
Why don't we clear up the minutes from last week first?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Would be, if you suspend the minutes to next week, I'll put something together and you have next
Is that
week's
okay with-
and this week's
It's fine.
minutes
Take a look at
together.
it. Sure.
Okay.
Read
Let's-
one comment here.
Let's get the.
That you're talking about conversations. I had a conversation with Dan Kaufman. Now this was April the 2nd of 2009. We currently have a plan SOP protocol to follow if our equipment fails or our PSAP is disabled. His response was, we do not have a written plan or any plan now. I said, well, what would you do? His response was, take out a piece of yellow paper and write on it, I quit. I said, well, I won't quit. I'll be here to deal with it.
Now that was April of '09, but in June of '09 is when we passed this motion for the $70,000 study. I want to know if that study's being done and where it stands.
Well, John, you know that isn't being done. Why do you even ask the question?
Because I'm a commissioner, I voted for it, I expect it to be done. Who stopped it if it's not being
Nobody
done?
stopped it.
We didn't get the funding for it.
Pardon?
We didn't get the funding for it.
That was to put into a request to PEMA for money.
For a grant.
Right.
So it wasn't approved.
No.
The funding wasn't approved for it.
Okay?
Okay.
So nobody here stopped it.
Well,
I
if
think I voted.
Carpenter voted for the motion while Commissioner Stohler voted nay, my
Is that in
record.
it? Well, your minutes
That's
may
what
not
my
be-
notes say.
Well, your notes might not be right.
Well, you're reading from your notes, and I'm supposed to believe them.
It's up to you. You believe what you want.
The motion that we seek a grant to do a formal study and that we get this thing done.
But the grant was
What,
turned down.
get what
But
done?
we can apply for others.
What do you want to get done? What that study was for a long-range plan, not for a backup PSAP.
It was as well as looking into the needed equipment for a backup public service answering point.
I think between Larry and Dan, I think we're past that point.
Yeah.
I think they know what we need down there.
Right, that's,
I don't think we need a study on that part of it.
no.
Well, do you agree that we need equipment and a place
We need
to
what-
set up?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
I
there's
don't know
nobody's
about
ever
him, I
said
do, yeah.
otherwise.
I've not heard you say that, Larry, because I thought you were
Well,
still
you
under
don't
the
talk to me,
impression
how could you?
that you. I'm talking to you now, sir.
Oh, so, thank you.
I heard you say that all you had to do was flip a switch. It's more complicated than that. I'd like to see a plan.
Well, when it's ready, I'll show it to
I'd
you.
like a deadline, please.
Yeah.
God can make a baby in 9 months. You can't deliver
I'm
a
not
plan.
God.
I'd like a commitment to get this done.
There's been a commitment, Joellen. I've been working on this for a long time. And when it's ready, I'll be happy to present it.
Can you give us a date when you will commit it?
No.
It's not us giving you a date, it's you setting a date, setting a
No.
goal, setting a vision, sharing that, talking to me, and really communicating as to when this is going to happen. Not next
It'll
year when you're
happen-
running for re-election.
It's laughable. Joellen, you're laughable. You get your publicity stunt for the day. You know, you talk about transparency. Joellen, you're transparent. Because everybody can see right through you. You do this stuff not for the good of the community, but just to promote your own political agenda, to get yourself elected to state senator or whatever.
I care less about the publicity.
Okay.
What I care about is the safety of our residents. And for you to say that is
So
wrong,
why'd you wait
Larry.
for 10 months to open your mouth?
Because there are people thinking about running against you for office based on this, and they are firefighters. And
Joel and I spent a year in Vietnam so people could run for office. Okay? I don't care who runs for office. If the public wants somebody else rather than me in 2 years, that's up to the public. I'm man enough to accept that.
realize that flooding is the most frequent problem that this county experiences. And the
Yeah, I
problem
know
with
that
the
for you.
PSAP in the basement is in an Agnes, it was disabled. Are you willing to shoulder that responsibility by stonewalling this?
Nobody's stonewalling anything. Nobody's stonewalling anything.
You an opportunity to come clean and to make the best of this situation, and that didn't happen at this point. That's not the appearance that's happening. I think we need to get this done. If you, at the very least, a commitment as to when you will get back to us.
Get back to us when it's ready.
But that's what was said 10 months ago. We
It
need
takes time.
we need a plan.
Jolyn, you rushed into starting the current system on Dan Kaufman's advice.
The
Well, it was
current
in
system is fine.
December 2004, Dan Kaufman came to this meeting and asked to start the current system that we're using for communications, which still isn't totally functional. Well, as it turned out, eventually we replaced those crappy pagers with some that do work better. And we now have 10 towers instead of 7 towers. I'm not going to rush into stuff like that. I'm going to try to do it. When I do it, it's going to be done right to the best of my ability, not just to rush something in to make you happy or anybody else. I won't do that.
What we did was to the best of our ability, and
No, it wasn't. It was.
I'm going
it
to
was
talk
quick and
now if you
dirty.
can let me finish. What we did was to the best of our ability.
No, it wasn't.
Sir, I have the floor, I
You
think.
take the floor.
Thank
do
you.
with it what you want.
What we did was have 80% coverage or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact
You
number.
ain't even close.
And we were guaranteed that that's what we had. And we moved ahead based on the facts that we had at the time. And that was important. And what I understand is that we have a really good system right now, and other counties are emulating and copying what
Southern
I think
York, Southwest
I have a lot of
York.
confidence in our system right now. Is it perfect? No. No system is ever perfect. We can, and stonewalling is a tactic used.
Nobody's stonewalling anything.
Well, I
All
think that
you're
you
doing
keep
is
cutting me
campaigning.
off. I think you keep cutting me off, and that's not fair.
Well, it's not fair. I'm done talking.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I got nothing more to say.
We need a backup public service answering point. If this basement gets flooded, that responsibility is going to be on your shoulders for stonewalling.
Well, my shoulders are big enough to take that responsibility.
Communication has been very poor, and it needs to improve. But we cannot break the sunshine law. You cannot tell me to talk to you about this issue
You can talk
when
about
it has
anything
to
as long as you
be.
don't decide to do something.
It's called
That's ridiculous.
it's called deliberation. It's breaking the sunshine law. If we have to come to a vote, I cannot talk to you about these things outside of a public meeting, Larry.
Yes, you can.
And you keep saying that I can and I can't. I am not going to break the law because you say I can. That's wrong.
That's fine.
Asking for a date when you're going to have a report for us. We're not asking to move ahead with anything. When are you going to have our report?
When it's,
That's an unacceptable answer.
that's when you're gonna get,
Well, can you give us a ballpark?
I'd say within the next month or so.
Well, now, why couldn't you say that when I ask you?